Wanted to say hi. Thank you for taking my class. My name is Chelsea. There are some things that can impact your success at Relactation and can impact how much of a supply you can bring back and how long that's going to take. I'm going to first discuss that if there were anything that was causing your low supply or your reason for stopping prior to stopping, we need to address that first, because without addressing that, you could run into the same problem again where you bring your milk supply back and you have a lot of trouble boosting it. Doctor, if you have any medical conditions that you're aware of, I wouldn't go searching for issues, but if you're aware that you have thyroid disease, PCOS, if you have diabetes, if you have anemia, you want to make sure you address all of these things with your doctor and make sure they're correctly, properly managed before starting Relactation, because a lot of these things can impact your success with Relactation. All right, let's get started. What I want to discuss first is we have to remember we're trying to bring back our milk supply after it's stopped or it's gone or almost gone, right? We need to re-trigger your milk supply. We need to trick your body to thinking you just had a baby again and make more milk. Let's do it. I know you didn't just give birth, but we just got to trick your body into thinking you did. And how do we do that? Frequent milk removal. It is gonna be a commitment that you have to stick to. This isn't something that I can tell you you're just gonna be like, oh, I got a few pumps in today. Oh, I slacked off a little today. Or, oh, I just couldn't get it in today, but tomorrow I'll keep it up. If you do that, it's going to take you a lot longer to trigger the initial lactation. I say this because you want to make sure when you start, you're ready mentally and physically to start. Because once you get going, the more into it you are, the quicker your milk supply is going to come in. And I should let you know, it's going to start slow. It's going to be drops in the flange or even just drops in your hand. You may not see much at all in the beginning, or even for the first few days, even the first week or so, depending on how long it's been since you stopped pumping or nursing. The longer it's been since you stopped, the longer it could take you. But everybody's different, so you really never know. This could be faster for you than it is for someone else. So let's get started talking about schedule and routine. So you're gonna start by pumping every 3 hours and hand expressing after. My suggestion is that you're going to pump for 15 minutes. This is going to stimulate the breast. This is going to stimulate the lactation hormones that we need. And right after that, you're going to hand express getting any drops out that you can. The 15 minutes of pumping is going to stimulate and bring out those hormones for milk production. And the hand expression is going to get out as much milk as we can, because like I said at the beginning, there may not be much milk to get out. So hand expressing is going to be a lot more efficient than just using the pump alone, which is why I say split your time, which is typically a 30-minute pump session. We're going to split that up, and we're going to do 15 minutes of pumping and about 10 to 15 minutes of hand expression, starting on one breast and moving to the other. But I want to show you a sample schedule. In the beginning, I don't think that you need to pump in the middle of the night. Some people may need to, and if down the road you're a few weeks into Relactation and you're not seeing enough of a boost in supply that you want, you can add in a middle of the night pump. But for now, I'm going to show you pumping every 3 hours during the day, and I'm going to give you an example of what I did. So if I woke up, if you can see, I woke up at 7 a.m. I then pumped at 10, 1, 4, 7, and again right before bed at 10. I really wanted to go to bed before 10 because I was up early with my kids, but I made sure to stay up and get in that 10 o'clock pump. Obviously, if you were to wake up at 6 o'clock, you can pump at 6 and then just continue every 3 hours from then, making sure you're pumping right before bed. So the next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to attach a few clips of expectations, what you might see in the first week or so, expectations of how much progress to see in the first week or two. So that's what's going to be on the next slide here, is I'm going to give you some actual photos of my Relactation journey from one of my 3 experiences. And you don't want to move on till you have either of these two things happening. It's either been 2 weeks into Relactation, or you're getting 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce Combine both breasts per session. At this point, we're going to switch things up with your schedule. You're going to want to pump every 2 to 3 hours, and you're going to want to just pump for 30 minutes. You are no longer doing the half and half between hand expression and pumping. You are going to pump for the full 30 minutes. So we're stimulating those hormones, the prolactin, the oxytocin, which are lactation hormones, and help bring in that milk supply. It doesn't have to be the same exact every day. Let's say one day you're able to do every 2 hours. The next day you're able to do every 3 hours, or sometimes throughout the day. In the first beginning, you go 2 hours, then 3 hours. In my opinion, it makes it easier to stick to long term. This is actually what you're going to continue doing through your process of relactation until you're happy with your supply. You're going to continue with the every 2 to 3 hour pumping for a full 30 minutes. The thing you still want to do is hand express, but now you're no longer utilizing hand expression as a portion of the pumping session for 15 minutes. You're just going to do it to get any lasting sprays out. Then what I do is I go to each breast and I hand express until the spraying stops and turns to drops. I still do that, even when my full supply is back. I do that because you don't know, was my pump efficient? Were my parts properly changed? I just do that every time, just to ensure I got all my milk out. And it's really helped me with increasing my supply. So you're gonna keep doing this. And as long as you feel like everything's going well, your supply should continue to increase. I wanna make sure you know it's a very slow increase for many. When I say slow, I mean for me, it would be maybe half an ounce a day increase total. That's why I don't suggest tracking every little ounce you make per pumping session. I collect it all in a container, in a bottle in my refrigerator, all of my sessions in the refrigerator. And at the end of the day, I tally up how many ounces I pumped that day and I write it down. And then I see over the course of a week how much I've increased over that week. Something I would see is it would be 4 ounces a day. The next day is 4.5 ounces. And I might stay at 4.5 ounces for 2 days. And the next day I made 5 ounces, then 5.5 ounces. And then the longer you get into this process, the quicker this is gonna go up. Maybe a half an ounce a day is a realistic expectation to see a month in. This is also the point in the process where if you're trying to get baby back to breast, you can begin relatching baby at the breast. It's not guaranteed to happen right away, but now that you're making about an ounce per session, this gives baby enough to latch on, have a small feeding, and then you still want to continue your pumping process after. So if baby only nursed at one breast, you're going to want to pump the other breast. If baby nurses at one breast for only 5 minutes, pump still for another 15 or 20 minutes when the baby is done to ensure your supply keeps coming in. Tips to making it work when you're trying to get baby back to breast is keep the breast a happy place. Don't force them. If baby's uncomfortable or not happy, don't keep trying to pop them on there. Wait till they're relaxed and try again tomorrow and the next day. It could take a few weeks of making them used to the breast again. Another thing I suggest doing is don't try to latch baby when they're already hungry. Do it before they're hungry. Look for their earliest feeding cues. If you still need to boost your supply even more, here's something else you can always keep in mind. Pump more. It's all you gotta do. When a baby's nursing at the breast and they need more milk, they're gonna feed more, which signals to your body to make more milk. So something you're wanting to do is you're going to just pump more frequently. Like I said, 2 to 3 hours, but now if you need a little boost in supply for like 2 to 3 days, pump every 2 hours during the day. Just pull that schedule back, tighten it up a little bit, every 2 hours, sticking to the same time frame of 30 minutes. Within a few days, you should notice an increase. Something else that you can do is try a power pump or a cluster pump. This is going to mimic when a baby's born and they feed on and off all night. So you can pump for 15 minutes, take your pumps off and rest for 5. Pump for 5, rest for 5. Pump for 5, rest for 5, pump for 5. Make sure you remember 2 things when you're trying to increase your supply. Things like power pumping, cluster pumping, massaging, hand expressing. They're all great ways to help boost your supply. But remember, it's not about how much you get at the moment of doing that technique. It's not about, oh, I'm going to do these techniques and immediately that day I'm going to see a boost in supply. It's not about, I'm going to do a power pump and yield so much more because I power pumped during this session. It's about those techniques triggering your body to produce more milk for the next day or for the next few days. So in implementing a technique to boost your supply when you feel like you've plateaued and you haven't seen any increase in a few days, give it a week. Give it a few days of doing that technique and then give it a week to even notice the change, even if you've stopped. If you haven't noticed a change in a week, I would suggest taking that technique and continuing it for longer till you do notice that increase. I just want to thank you guys so much for taking this class with me.